What's up, everybody? Today we are going to be doing a video about how to play the Ice Shard Skull Bash Lapras mirror. Now, I saw this come up a few times in the Tempest Cup, and I know it'll come up again, and because it's a new move, a lot of people were not doing it correctly. So over the past week, I have had a few friends of mine help me out with this mirror, and we're gonna dive into a few of the things that you're going to want to avoid doing and things that you need to be aware of. Now, first things first, I know it's tempting, but if you are going to bait your opponent into blocking a surf instead of a Skull Bash, you will lose. If you only bait one surf, you will not have a defense boost later on that you will need to win the end game match. So what we're going to see here is we're going to see how Stark bait one of my surfs, get one of my shields out, and in this he will actually save a lot of energy. He will be able to get a Skull Bash earlier, and it will result in me being able to block less Skull Bashes than him, but because I have more Skull Bashes on board, I actually end up winning this match in the end. So we're just seeing how that plays out right now. Now you'll see we're both down shields now. He gets this Skull Bash off, and it will do quite a bit. I am able to return fire with mine. Now, because he was missing one of his initial Skull Bashes because he chose to use the energy on Surf, his Lapras is now quite a bit behind mine, as you can see. And it allows me to survive his last Skull Bash and get mine off for a clean win. So if you are going to bait, do not bait just once. A strategy that does work, it's risky but it works, is double baiting. Now that means you are going to go in and you're going to charge up to Skull Bash, you're going to throw Surf, and if they shield both, it's an auto win for you. So we're going to take a look at how that works out right now. Now, we've got B-Haz over here with his Lapras, and he is going to go ahead and surf me twice. Now, he's charging up to a Skull Bash, because in a real match, you would be prepared for a Skull Bash, you would be expecting it, and you would block. So he's got my shield down. Now I get to get my Skull Bash. This will give me a defense boost. He will be down a defense 2 actually by the time I get to charge mine, and it will do quite a bit. But because he is so high up in energy now from successfully double baiting twice, he will win this match every time. So now we're both shields down. You'll see in a minute that my Skull Bash will do quite a bit. But my health is down quite a bit as well. So at this point, all he needs to do is be able to reach a surf to take me out, and my surf would not take him out. So that is a win for him. So if you are going to bait, you need to do it twice. Either go for 2 Skull Bashes, Skull Bash, Skull Bash, Skull Bash, or Surf, Surf, Skull Bash, Skull Bash, Skull Bash. So another thing to avoid is not blocking the initial Skull Bash. Being afraid of Surf, or being afraid of Skull Bash is important. You need to be afraid of it, because if you do not block it, you will lose. You will not have the defense boost on board to survive later on in the match. Now, we've got my friend Hazeline here. He's going to go ahead and not block the initial Skull Bash, maybe thinking it's a Surf. Who knows, because there are many different strategies to play this, but it's dangerous not to block. See how much that does? If he doesn't have that defense boost on board, it takes a huge chunk. Now I'm just going to go ahead and block, because I know that if I don't, I will lose. If it's a Surf, I have a chance. If he only single baits me, I will win. So the safer move, in my opinion, is to just block initially. Otherwise, you're letting the match be decided. So at this point, there is no coming back from the initial miss block. And because my Lapras has so many defense boosts on board now, it will actually be helpful even later in the game if I am able to save any of my energy. And at this point, a Surf will take him out. So I'll just go ahead and throw that Surf. Now I have almost a whole Skull Bash or a Surf and a half for the next guy. So by throwing this, I'm going to get even another defense boost and then just be able to either steamroll the match. You definitely have an advantage here. So another thing we wanted to look at was IVs. Now we're going to hand it over to Toshi because we figured out that there is a certain break point, and if you're aware of your IVs, you need to be aware of your IVs and play aware of your IVs. So I'm going to hand it over to Joe right now and see what those IVs are.
Hey everybody, welcome to Toshi's School of PvP. Today we're going to be looking at a really interesting, intricate breakpoint in a Lapras mirror having to do with Skull Bash. So we're doing Ice Shard, Skull Bash, and Surf in the 2 shields. And we're going to be testing different IVs for an attack breakpoint. So we have Kim's Lapras over here, the 6-13-13. And we're going to test that against 2 different Laprases on the other end. First is going to be mine, which is a 7-12-13 Lapras. And we're giving me CMP. And when you sim it out, I win by a good bit. And what you're going to want to notice is right here, after her first Skull Bash, my Ice Shard is still doing 3 damage. It started doing 3 damage, she got the boost, and it's still doing 3 damage after her boost. That is important because when you switch the IVs, we're going to use a different friend of ours, and it's going to be 1, 6, 14. Change the level, it's going to be level 22. Then that's a much lower attack, and you see here that when you run the exact same sim, it starts off with 3, the exact same way as mine did, but then after the first Ice Shard, it goes down to 2. So it's doing a lot less damage for all these Ice Shards, which is really important because it totally flips the match. So as you can see, you win with like 40 less HP because Kim is able to get off another Skull Bash that she wouldn't be able to get before. So those are some interesting breakpoints. It wouldn't show up as a standard breakpoint because it starts off, they both do 3 damage. So the 1 attack and the 7 attack will both do 3 damage. But if you notice, after 1 defense boost from Kim's, they start doing, the higher attack will stay at 3 damage and the lower attack will drop down to 2. That'll also depend on both points. It's possible that if Kim was running a 15 defense instead of a 13 defense Lapras, then it would be 2 for both of us after the Skull Bash. So it's really, really IV dependent on both ends, but something to look for. If you're wondering why one Lapras is doing better than the other in the mirror when you have these small, tiny differences, you really want to look for the different breakpoints and how much damage you're doing, especially after boosts or debuffs.
Alright, thank you so much, Joe. This is actually getting pretty exciting, really delving into these IVs. Now we're going to take a look at what happens with this particular match. I'm going to go in with my 6-13-13 Lapras, and we are going to face a 1-6-14 Lapras. Now, this actually changes the match quite a bit. I'll show you after this video what mine and Toshi's Lapras, but this is the non-optimal for the mirror Lapras. Now how this ends is actually a little bit different. It ends by Surf. So we're just gonna go along. We're just playing regularly right now. For all of these matches, I actually didn't have CMP, so we're just gonna skull bash, block the initial skull bashes, and the match actually comes out quite a bit differently because of breakpoints. So we're gonna see in a minute how this match ends. So at this point, we're both down shields. We've both got defense boosts on board, but his Lapras is doing less damage than mine because mine has a higher attack. And mine also has a higher defense. So we're getting down to the end. I'm going to be able to get this Skull Bash off. I will survive his, and he will survive mine. But I'll be able to finish him off with a Surf, and I under tap here to win this match. Now we're going to take a look at what happens with Joe's Toshi's Lapras. Now our Laprases are actually very similar. Mine is 6, 13, 13, and his is 7, 12, 13. So we went through this quite a few times, and we kept tying. So if somebody under taps, we tie. If the other person under taps, we tie. We weren't able to successfully under tap both Skull Bashes and win the match. The only way we ever ended this match was a tie. So we're going to go ahead and look into that right now and just see what happens here. We're just going to play it normally, just Skull Bashes. And you can see he has CMP here. And I actually am attempting to steal it back from him. For the third Skull Bash, what I want to do is get it before he does, before we figured out that you can only really tie. We thought maybe it would make a difference if the non-CMP person undertapped, but even so, we ended up tying by fast moves. So now bolt down shields. And at this point, it doesn't matter who throws it now. I was able to gain CMP back, either through under tapping or him losing a fast move. We did it a few different times in these matches, and we got the same results each time. We come down to ice shards in the end. So there's one more option. If you know you're going to lose, you don't have CMP, you possibly have the lower IV, the non-optimal for the Mirror Lapras, you're not able to under tap at all and ever gain back CMP, even if your Lapras is better. Another option is to just have a plan and have a Pokemon that you can switch into to take that last Skull Bash. And by doing that, you are going to preserve the Lapras that you have, and you will have two Surfs, a Surf and a half, two Surfs saved up. What we're doing here is just trying to get any advantage that we can back. If you know you're going to lose, this is just an option. It's not always the best option because sometimes what you switch into, they're going to have something for it, but I wanted to include this just as an option. Just because having a defense buffed Lapras in the back can sometimes be more helpful than not having it, even if you do lose that switch advantage. So what you're going to want to try to do is you're going to want to Skull Bash and then charge up almost to your own Skull Bash and then immediately switch. And what you're hoping for is that they will throw their Skull Bash onto something that will be not very effective. And then hopefully you have set up the rest of your team to deal with losing that advantage. Alright guys, wrapping up, I just wanted to remind us of a few points that we have made. So, first point, if you are going to bait your opponent with surf, you need to do it twice. I know it's tempting to just bait the initial, get that shield on the surf, and then go for the skull bash, but it won't work. You will not have enough energy, you will not have enough defense in the end to win that match. Next point, if you don't block the initial skull bash, you lose. You do not have the defense again to take his. You will be down half health. If you give up shields at this point, it's a waste. You're going to give up both shields and still lose. Don't make that your plan. IVs make a difference here, and you're not going to know your opponent. So you need to go into each match assuming that you are at the disadvantage, and you need to try to gain back whatever advantage you can get by undertapping, by having a viable switch option. Brings us into our next point. If everything else fails, you don't want to give up both shields and still lose. Have a switch option. Be able to take the skull bash on something not very effective, get some energy, have some surfs packed up in the back, and do whatever you can to win that match and not give it away and give up both your shields in the process. Now I just wanted to take a moment to thank a few people that I could not have made this video without. I wanted to thank Toshi, Hazelime, Behaz, King, House Stark, Ice9 Ursine. You guys have been tremendously helpful to me, just answering my questions, giving me suggestions, advice, running tests with me, and just generally putting up with me this week while I've tried to figure this out. I couldn't have done it without you, and I massively appreciate you, and thank you for everybody watching. If you guys have any suggestions, advice, or maybe ideas about new videos, new mirrors, stuff like that, go ahead and leave me a comment. I'm always open for new suggestions. We need to get some variety out there. So thank you all so much for watching. I hope this has helped somebody out there, and good luck in your matches. Have a good day, everybody.